If you don't know what imposter syndrome is, or if you do and you deal with those feelings on a daily basis, stay tuned because I'm going to explain what it is and how to overcome those feelings right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Modern Mindset. To start, let's clarify what imposter syndrome is. What is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome can be defined as a collection of feelings of inadequacy that persists despite evident success. This definition may not make things super clear, so I found this image which I feel really captures the real issues with imposter syndrome. You could be having a conversation with someone but feel inadequate, that you cannot really contribute any type of value to this conversation because you feel that they already know it, that the value that you can contribute is belittled or has no real value to the other person, when in fact there may be some crossover in knowledge that you have and that they have, but the vast amount of knowledge that you do have, they don't actually have because you experience things differently than them. If you didn't know what imposter syndrome was, now you do, and the least you can do is smash the like button for adding another useless fact to your arsenal. All jokes aside, it is likely that you or someone you know has dealt with imposter syndrome in one way or another. I was also someone who hadn't heard of imposter syndrome before. I didn't find out about it until I became a software developer because it's very prevalent in my field. Experience and knowledge aren't directly tied together in like years of work. People can know things that you wouldn't know, and you can really start feeling like an imposter because someone who's much more junior than you can have the answer that you may not have. But I've also noticed it in other parts of my life as well. Just for some background, I've been lifting weights, doing collegiate sports, been doing competitive athletics for over 10 years now. And I feel pretty well versed in just lifting and stuff like that. But I even felt like I had some imposter syndrome around switching gyms. Previously, I've been going to Planet Fitness, which is pretty much the entry level of any type of gym you can get into. I was just being cheap and decided to go with that one. But I had been thinking about switching gyms for probably a year, 2 years, and I wanted to go to this much more high level gym, which I felt was going to be filled with much more, I guess, meatheads in the lack of a term. And I thought that I was gonna make myself look like a fool. Like I said, I've been thinking about switching gyms for probably over a year, and I really just didn't switch for the longest time due to fear. I didn't want to go to this gym, and despite being trained by these super high level college strength coaches, I still felt like I'd make myself look like a fool. But eventually I came to this realization that most of these people don't really care about me, and that might sound a little mean or something like that, but it's the truth. We interact with people on a daily basis that we have no real relationship to, and we're really just a blip in their day where we're all living as the main characters of our story. We could do something dumb, we could trip, spill something, and it may live in our head for the rest of the day. But in reality, for other people, it's just going to be a small blip, that you're just some kind of supporting character in their story. They're not really going to pay attention to you. You're not really going to have to deal with that. But that's really one of the things about imposter syndrome. You feel like you are going to make yourself look silly, or you're going to make yourself look dumb, and you're going to kind of become exposed to the world. And those feelings really limit your potential. They limit what you can do and what you're willing to try. If you can get past that, you can really find a whole new spectrum of things that you can become great at. It's really about pushing yourself and getting over that whole looking silly mindset. If you're not willing to step outside your comfort zone, you're always going to be in this little box. You're never going to reach the full potential that you could have had before if you would have pushed outside of it. So let me get off my soapbox a little bit. So some ways you can recognize that you are suffering from imposter syndrome are noticing these kind of feelings. If you start feeling like a fake anytime you mess up, or if you're someone who starts to believe that everything comes down to luck, or that success is no longer a big deal, you could be someone suffering from imposter syndrome. You're starting to put up barriers in between you and what your goals are in order to stop yourself from feeling a large letdown if you end up failing. Here are some habits I feel like if you adopt will help you get over these feelings of inadequacy, or these feelings that you're becoming an imposter or a fraud in these kind of situations. This one can be difficult, but it can help you get perspective on the situation. And it's to really try to find someone who's in a similar situation as you, or someone who's in a position that you are trying to get to. And it may be hard to put yourself in this vulnerable situation, but finding this person and really discuss your feelings. And I know that can be difficult with anybody, especially even just with workplace people. In software development, we try to have mentors, at least for where I work, where someone who's above you, like by position or something like that, can really discuss like your career goals and what you need to do to work forward. But once you get put into this next position, so to speak, they've already been at that point. They've already shared those feelings most likely. And discussing these feelings with them can really show that you're not the only one that's felt that way. They can give you a different perspective on the situation. They can break down the situation as a fact-based position, where they can analyze what you've done and why you've been put in this position and show you that you've really earned the place you're at. That brings us to the second thing. Try to separate fact from feeling. And that can be super difficult, but can really give you more insight on where you are and what the situation really entails. If you're dealing with imposter syndrome, it's very likely that you're going to belittle any accomplishments you make or any things you've done. It can help to write things out. By writing things out, you can really detail the accomplishments you've made and what you've done. And it will also allow you to remove innate bias that you may have toward yourself. Another thing you can do is try to recognize when you're feeling like a fraud, and try to address those feelings in a healthy way. Try to recognize what triggers those feelings and what really helps you to get over them. One thing that kind of triggers me sometimes is when you make a mistake, it's kind of natural to start feeling like a fraud. One of the things I've really changed in my life now is when I make these mistakes, I really try to treat them as learning opportunities. Rather than trying to treat it as a revealing factor that I don't belong in the position I'm at, I try to treat it as an opportunity for me to add something to my toolbox. It could be easily and simply due to someone else already being exposed to the problem I'm trying to solve, where if I had been exposed to the same thing, I'd have an easy solution too. Due to knowledge not being directly tied to experience level or anything like that, it really is a very challenging environment to be a software developer in some ways. It forces you to constantly need to continue to learn and adapt, or you'll be left behind. In the end though, you may be forced to just wing it sometimes. Sometimes you're gonna get put into situations where you're not fully ready to be in, or you don't really have the experience to be in that position. You may not automatically have the answer to every question that someone poses now, but you have to become comfortable in these awkward situations. If you don't, if you start to feel nervous and you start to just question yourself, people are gonna feel that. People are gonna sense it, and then they're gonna eat you up. You have to get through these awkward situations with a strong face and then put in the work after in order to get yourself ready. There's plenty of situations where you'll be challenged or anything like that by your boss, by people around you, that you may not be the most experienced or the most knowledgeable or anything like that, where you need to just put a strong face on and come back to them and tell them, oh, I'll get you an answer, give me like 5 minutes or something like that. Getting comfortable can really put you in a better position than what most people will really realize. Really take it as an opportunity to rise to the occasion. Sometimes you may even have to ask someone more junior than you for help. That's not innately the wrong thing or a bad thing to do. Healthy workplace environments shouldn't punish you for this. You should be all working towards the same goal, which is to solve the problem at hand. You may not feel like you suffer from imposter syndrome directly, but it's easy to feel inadequate in today's society. People only talk about the perfect and great aspects of their life, and they only post the perfect pictures to Instagram or any type of social media. Try to take a step back in those situations. Try to take things in and take these mistakes that you make, these shortcomings that you have, as an opportunity to grow and be more prepared in the future. Thanks for watching the video. See you next week on Modern Mindset.